What's up, guys? I'm back. Another solo pod here. No one wants to talk college football with me, I guess. Nah, I'm playing. But we got week 5 of the college football season. A lot of crazy games. Probably one of the most iconic games in the past 4 or 5 years that I can remember, with that Georgia-Bama game that we'll get to. But let's start off with a Friday night game. Miami took on Virginia Tech. Cam Ward, Heisman guy, coming into this game. He's the Heisman favorite by most people. He had a big day passing. Had 4 touchdowns again, threw for over 340. He also had 2 picks, which I called for that a week or 2 ago. I can't remember which recap I did, but he has got to clean that up. That's the one part of his game where I think if he's going to go on and play against these NFL defenses on Sundays, he's got to clean that stuff up. That's just, you can't be doing that every single game. You can't bank on him throwing a pick. That's just not something that's going to lead for success for him. This Virginia Tech team gave Miami all they can handle. Came down to a Hail Mary, which, depending on who you ask, was the correct or incorrect call. If you're asking me, I think it's the correct call of incomplete. It's just, it's tough. It's tough that that's what they called on the field. Like, if they would have called incomplete on the field and then denied it, or inconclusive evidence stands, that's probably would have a dream scenario would have been. But the fact they called it a touchdown and then ruled it incomplete, it's like, oh, that's brutal to take away from that guy. Obviously, that situation, it's whatever stands on the field. But man, that's such a brutal way for this one to end. Miami goes to 5-0, but you can kind of see in this game where they might be a little bit in trouble. That defense might be not as good as people thought coming into it. And Cam Ward, you got to clean it up, brother. You're a Heisman candidate. I get it, but you can't be. I can't guarantee a pick from you every single week, no matter the matchup. So Miami escape. They go to 5-0. We'll move on to Texas against Mississippi State. It's a interesting scenario going on with Texas. I can't remember the last time. Actually, maybe Rattler and Caleb Williams is maybe the last time I remember something like this happening, where Rattler was playing okay. He wasn't playing great, but they just had a guy behind him who they thought was better, and Caleb ended up being the number 1 overall pick. So it sucks for Quinn Ewers because he kind of got Texas to where they're at. He was the quarterback the past few years and decided to come back, and I don't know, man. I think Arch Manning should start. Don't get me wrong. But it's just a tough situation for him to be in. He's like, damn, he's kind of got them to a playoff last year, and it's just brutal. I'm just looking up some stuff real quick, but yeah, this Texas team is no joke though. I'm a huge Jaden Blue guy. They just have an insane 1-2 punch with Wisner and Blue. And then they have just playmakers at every position with DeAndre Moore, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden. Just a ton of guys that can go make plays. This Texas team looks like probably the second best team in the country behind Bama so far. But I do want to see them play some more competition to see kind of where they're at with Arch at the helm. But they handle Mississippi State 35-13. They go to 5-0 as well. We'll go to the game of the week, Georgia-Bama. Lot to unbox here. Take a sip of water before I get into it. All right, we're locked in. Carson Beck, brother. From how this game started to how it finished, if you would have told me that Carson Beck was going to throw for over 430 yards and 3 touchdowns, also 3 picks, obviously, but that I would have told you you're insane. Like, the way this game started out for Georgia, it was a nightmare. Bama kind of showed that they're going to lean into Milroe. They're not shying away from his rushing upside, which they shouldn't. He is such a force on the ground, and to not tap into that would be a mistake. And so far through 4 games, they're leaning into that heavily, and got to give credit to Kellen DeBoer and the guys over at Bama. They kept going at this Georgia team in the first quarter. There was no let the foot off the gas until you saw kind of, okay, they're up big. I don't remember the exact score, but Bama was up like 3 touchdowns on them. And then second half adjustments, you see Georgia come back, and you're just like, oh my gosh, no way Bama chokes this lead. Georgia takes the lead late in the fourth quarter, and then what? Ryan Williams, kid 17. Crazy to think that this guy, what is he, born in 07? Yeah, February 9th, 2007, bro. That is just, I remember freaking going back to my playing soccer. 07s were like little babies when I was graduating high school, and then now seeing this kid do what he's doing on the biggest stage is just insane for a 17-year-old. To be honest, coming into this game, I was kind of like, I knew Ryan Williams was good, but I didn't know how good. And I don't know, I didn't really expect him to blow up the way he did and make that type of play in that type of stage in the game. But he's the real deal. He looks like every time he gets the ball in his hands, I kind of compared him to Neighbors, the way he runs his routes. Like, he's a very advanced route runner for being 17, and that's what I think is going to kind of separate him from some other guys where, like, hey, if you're a good route runner and you have the speed to take the top off the defense like he does, like, he's going to be a problem. He's got great hands. He's not the biggest guy. He's only 170, but he's a problem, dude. And the play he made, that's just insane. It literally gives me chills just thinking about it. But yeah, Carson Beck, for his draft stock, this game hurt him a lot more than helped him. Obviously, it's no shit, but the fight he showed in the second half to get his team back into it also should kind of level out his stock for this game. Like, you're going to have bad games, whatever, but how you react to adversity, which some NFL players can take note to, hey, if you go down big, the game's not over. Like, he had a whole another half, and he kind of bounced back and made up for his mistakes as best he could. 2 guys over 100 yards for Georgia receiving. And, yeah, like, give credit to this Bama team. Georgia, obviously number 2 team in the country, but I don't know. I don't know what it is nowadays. I don't know. I don't want to call and speculate too much about, like, why teams are just blowing leads every single game. It feels like the NFL, you have to be up like 30 for it can be considered a safe lead. Same thing with college, apparently. And, yeah, but Bama gets away with the win there. And they go to 4-0. Georgia drops to 3-1. We'll see how they bounce back. But Ohio State, I'm trying to tell y'all, Ohio State beat Michigan State 38-7. I'm telling you, this guy, Jeremiah Smith, is going to be kind of on the level of Marvin was last year, where you're like, dang, this kid has to play another season, or else he would be in the draft right now. He's that good. He made 2 insane one-hand grabs, and you just see like he just looks like a menace out there compared to anyone he goes against. Egbuka had a great game too, but this is just dominant from Ohio State. Michigan State isn't great. I don't really rate them that high. But yeah, this Ohio State team, I think right now, I think they're the second best team in the country over Texas. Now that I think about it, I think it goes Bama, then Ohio State, then Texas probably is my top 3 right now. But yeah, I'm telling you, like my main takeaway from this game was just how many playmakers they have and the 1-2 punch you'll see with Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Like that's gonna give people problems in high leverage games where you need guys to stay fresh. Those are 2 guys where both those guys and anyone comes in the field, you're like, oh shit, we gotta tackle this guy. But yeah, that's really my main takeaway from that game. They go to 4-0. Michigan State drops to 3-2. It's tough not having someone else here. I gotta take more water breaks, but we'll go to Kentucky Ole Miss. This game I told y'all in the preview, I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky beat Ole Miss. I took Ole Miss in my predictions, but they had every chance. Jackson Dart tried to play hero ball too much, didn't stay within the offense. Trey Harris had a hell of a game, 11 catches, 176 yards, and a touchdown. This is the type of game where I thought Ole Miss was going to struggle, and they did. They played a stingy Kentucky defense that held Georgia to 13. They hold Ole Miss to 17. And Kentucky did what they need to do to win the game. They come into Ole Miss and shock everybody. Their first win in Oxford since 1978. Almost as freaking old as my parents, but they're 3-2. They played some very tightly contested games so far. Interested to see how Ole Miss bounces back from this. Obviously, they're not out of the fight, but this is a tough loss for them because I think Jackson Dart kind of showed that if the game gets close, I'm gonna try to make magic happen. He's not Caleb. He's not that guy where he can take off and he got bailed out. There's a fumble at the end where he got bailed out of, but still couldn't make anything happen. I think he's. I talk about kind of like the mid off of ranked quarterbacks that you guys see at Oklahoma State with Bowman and Avery Johnson, which has a little bit more upside because of his rushing ability. I think Jackson Dart's a tier above that, but he's not in any way a Heisman contender. He's an above average quarterback, but he's not on the level of like Nico. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I think it's Emiliava or something like that. And then Jalen Milroe, I think he's my sleeper. I don't know, people are going to kind of pass and overlook him just because of maybe he's a better runner than a passer. But look at Lamar. You can refine passing. He has an arm. He has more than enough rushing upside. Like, I think he should be a top 5 pick. I know it might sound a little bit wild right now, but just the type of leader he is too. Like, he is someone that I would want to run my football team and lead my offense. Like, he just seems like a natural born leader, and I don't think that you don't have that maturity coming out of college as much as I've seen from Milroe. But yeah, he's not on the Jackson Dart's not on that tier with them. Although he's above that mid tier, is kind of in that middling range. But yeah, I think Ole Miss will be all right. But they play some tough games coming up, so we'll preview those too. But Kentucky upsets them 20-17. Let's move on to Oregon and UCLA. I'm not overly impressed with Oregon this year. They're 4-0. Dylan Gabriel just looks like the check down monster. Had 31 completions, only for 278 yards, 3 touchdowns though. Had a pick. Jordan James does look good. I'll give him that. They got playmakers too. No taken away from the skill guys. I just don't really rate Dylan Gabriel that highly. Kind of think he's in that Jackson Dart tier. But yeah, they beat a UCLA team. They should beat 34-13. They go to 4-0. Nothing really much to say there. This is my pick. I thought Illinois was going to be able to pull it off against Penn State, but that Penn State defense stiffened up. Altmaier only had 185 yards passing with a touchdown and pick. Yeah, this Penn State team I just don't see competing. I don't like Drew Allard. I think he's in that mid-tier with Bowman and those guys from Oklahoma State. Their defense, however, is next level. They shut shit down, and they're a force to be reckoned with. I think this Penn State team, it's just the ultimate Big Ten look where we have an insane ground game, a mid-quarterback, some playmakers on the outside, but no one like too crazy. I think Harrison Wallace is a good guy, like a good player, but he's not like Jeremiah Smith, you know. But then they have 1 through 11 on defense. They got guys. So we'll see how Penn State fares against maybe a little bit better teams going forward. But Fighting Illini, they fall 21-7 to Penn State. Here's another upset pick that actually I hit on with U of A. Cam Rising didn't play, which obviously factors into it. But Isaac Wilson threw 2 picks, only completed 50% of his passes. Noah Fafita, also kind of a mid-game, didn't even eclipse 200 yards passing, but threw for 2 touchdowns. Also threw a pick. But this is more like it from U of A. They got to get the ground game going. They can't put that much pressure on Fafita to make every throw and Tatario to make every play. They had guys step up, Burnett, obviously the 2 running backs, Ruscano and Conley, they stepped up. This is more like a cohesive unit from U of A. Tatario's going to get his, and there's not going to be a lack of production from McMillan, just the nature of the offense and how they run through things through him. Jeez. But this is more complimentary from them. Defense looked better too. They have a bunch of guys that are going to go probably round 1 or 2 in the draft. So this is more what I expect from U of A. They take down Utah. Kind of saw this one coming, but yeah, shout out Jordan Singer. Had 9 catches, 155 yards. He ate. That's proud of him. Good for him. Went to Pinnacle as well, so pretty cool. A lot of guys playing major college football that went to Pinnacle. So that's a pretty cool thing to see. Water break 3 of the video. Hold on. All right, we're back in the game. To talk about Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan, again, terrible quarterback play, but the run game did enough. Khalil Mullings is making a crazy case for his draft stock. I think he's a big dude. He's 6'2", 233. Yeah, they're feeding him every game. Alex Orji, horrible, but again, this defense making plays, dude. They always find a way to just kind of bail out this offense, and we'll see how long they can keep it up. I think this Big Ten is wide open, so maybe they can squeak out a title, but they're 2-0 in the conference. They go to 4-1. Golden Gophers, they put up a good fight, but again, this Michigan team, they're just going to scrap and claw and throw everything they got at you every single week. So you can't fault them. But they squeak out a win against Minnesota. They go to 4-1. They will go to USC. They handle Wisconsin 38-21. Miller Moss, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards passing, a pick. Woody Marks, 19 carries, 63 yards. Not very efficient, but hey, volume's there for him. And then USC, they got probably top 5 playmakers in the country with Lane, Branch, Hudson, Deuce. They got a ton of guys that can make plays at any time. And they're always USC is a scary team to play because they can just drop 40 on you casually. This Wisconsin team is not bad, but they just don't. Losing their quarterback definitely hurt them, and they put up 21 points against this USC team, so that's at least a good thing to take away from them. But USC handles them 38-21. LSU whoops up on South Alabama. I'm not even going to talk about that game. They beat them 42-10. And then we got Louisville, Notre Dame. This game was interesting. I think they're, again, kind of like Bama, but obviously not to the extent that Jalen Milroe has that success there. But Notre Dame's really leaning into Riley Leonard's rushing. And they're taking advantage because he's a big kid, and they're using him on just short yardage, on goal line stuff, and he's getting it done, so you can't fault him too much. Running game wasn't overly efficient this game. It was a lot of the defense, and a lot of turnovers from this team too. They had 2 fumbles in the game. Riley Leonard was fairly efficient passing, but yeah, I think this game, if you look at the box score, it doesn't really you're kind of like looking for the separating factor. And yeah, man, Notre Dame, I think their defense just get it done. I think this secondary is they're high level, and I want to see them play kind of more skilled position groups and see how they fare against them, because obviously Louisville, they got playmakers, but not like USC or Bama or Georgia, like top end talent. So we'll see how they go. See how they fare. Notre Dame, after that tough loss to NIU, they go to 4-1. Louisville, they fall to 3-1, but against a ranked team, they won't fall too much. We'll go over the predictions and where everyone stands after I go over the recap. But yeah, Clemson, all of a sudden, Cade Klubnik wants to be him. Had 5 touchdowns. Stanford's not great. I don't rate them very much, but they have a athletic quarterback, and they got a probably top 10 receiver prospect in the draft. So to only hold them to 14 is a good sign for Clemson. That just embarrassing loss the first week is kind of slowly getting what's the word? Forgotten about. They're 2-0 in the ACC. With how shaky the ACC has been, it's pretty much anyone's game, anyone's title to win. And Clemson, I won't lie, they do look good, but I still think Klubnik is fraud. We'll see. He didn't even complete 50% of his passes against the Stanford team. That's not great. But yeah, they put up 40. They beat Stanford 40-14. Iowa State blanked Houston 20-0. Boring ass game, but do what you got to do to win. Kansas State, I picked them to beat Oklahoma State, and that's basically what I expected. I think the separating factor was just Avery Johnson, his ability to get out of the pocket and make plays. He had 5 touchdowns total, 3 passing, 2 rushing, and that's honestly what ended up kind of being the deciding factor in this one. Bowman, 2 picks, telling you, just the ultimate mid QB for a ranked team. But yeah, Kansas State goes to 4-1. Oklahoma State drops to 3-2. We'll go to Oklahoma and Auburn. I'm telling you, this Oklahoma team is not great. I like Michael Hawkins. Thank God they're playing him over Jackson Arnold. I don't know if there's an injury there, but they should stick with him regardless. He gives them way more rushing and passing. But yeah, this Auburn team gives people problems, but they're not. Their offense just isn't great. But yeah, this This game, Oklahoma had a pick six, and that was kind of like, hey, that was like the deciding factor. So Oklahoma goes to 27, or they go to 4-1, beat them 27-21. Yeah, Hawkins should be the starter. He's actually a nasty runner. Had a nasty ankle breaker, so yeah, they should definitely roll with him from now on. But Oklahoma I don't see as a real threat in the SEC as far as this year is concerned. But yeah, another team, shocker, BYU is 5-0, 2-0 in the Big 12. They beat Baylor 34-28. Baylor just losing close games left and right. Yeah, it was just really the turnover margin here. Sawyer Robertson, the Baylor quarterback, threw 2 picks. And, Redscliffe also threw 2 picks. But, yeah, this BYU team is just they're gritty. They're going to play good defense. They're going to give you a game every single time. And they beat Baylor 34-28. Not really the best review for me there, but only got to watch the highlights of that game. Obviously, just so much stuff going on. Obviously, being at work, too, is just tough. But, yeah, BYU 34-28. A&M gets it done against Arkansas. I thought Arkansas was going to be able to do enough to win. They almost did. But when you got guys that are going to be first-round picks like Nick Gordon forcing fumbles in the fourth, that's kind of what separates you, wins and losses for you. But A&M go to 4-1. I do like Marcel Reed a lot more than Weigman. Thank gosh, these guys are changing quarterback play. Like you could not consistently roll with Weigman and expect to win games. But yeah, A&M they go 4-1, 2-0 the SEC. So their season's not over after a first kind of a tough first week against Notre Dame. But yeah, Boise State, fourth water break. Hold on. Boise State beat Washington State 45-24. All the Ashton Jeanty haters, I don't know what you're going to say now. Through 5 weeks, he has 845 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, and is averaging 10 yards a carry. You hand the ball to this guy, he's getting you a first down. Think of it like that. He is absolutely insane. He's on pace right now, I think, for like 50 touchdowns and over 3,000 yards rushing. That's insane. If he doesn't win Heisman, I don't even know what to say. He's by far the most talented player. Probably, it's tough to say in the country, but definitely at the running back position, obviously. I saw something on Instagram, too. It's like this is a top 5 running back playing in college against Washington State, which no hate to Washington State. They're 4-1. They're not a bad team, but this is just an NFL player playing against you, and you can't fault him. Boise State is literally going to be in games single-handedly because of Ashton Jeanty, and it's fun to watch, man. If you're not watching him, stand up to watch him, which thankfully I get to catch some of the game, but he's unreal. You guys got to tune in. But yeah, that kind of sums up that game. Boise State is literally ranked because of one guy. Insane to think about. NC State gets it done over NIU 24-17. Boston College barely squeaks out a win against Western Kentucky. They go to 4-1. See some other games here that I want to touch on. TCU beat Kansas 38-27. Kansas is 1-4 after starting the year ranked. That is brutal. Duke squeaks out a win. They go to 5-0 over North Carolina. It's interesting to see. And I told you that ACC is wide open. It's pretty much anyone's to take. Colorado, being a dog, goes in, beats UCF 48-21. They're 4-1, man. Say what you want about Colorado. They're 2-0 in the Big 12. So we'll see what happens there. We'll go over predictions in a bit too. But yeah, SMU Goes to 4-1. Florida State is just, if you're a Florida State fan, I apologize on behalf of the program. That's just embarrassing. Texas Tech, they go to 4-1. They beat Cincinnati 44-41. New Mexico wins 50-40. Get their first one of the season. Good for him. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up the week. Crazy week in football or college football. That Georgia Bama game that was fun to watch. That was peak college football experience right there. Just watch that game back and just the energy, types of players that you'll see playing on Sundays make plays in that game. Like, just fun to watch. Fifth water break before we head into our predictions for week 6. All right. We're looking at these together for the first time. We got Oregon hosting Michigan State. Oregon, no doubt in my mind. Michigan State, they don't have the offense to keep up with them. Even if their defense plays out of their mind, their offense really can't complement that defense. I'll take Oregon in that game. UNLV is ranked. They host Syracuse. I think they get their first loss of the season to Syracuse, Kyle McCord. And then boys from the Orange, I think they come in, kind of spoil that game for them. So I'll take Syracuse in that game. Penn State hosts UCLA. This is going to be probably the most boring game of all time, but I'll take Penn State. Mizzou A&M. This is an interesting game because Mizzou had a scare. I think it was against Vandy. But they escaped that game. They came off on a bye. A&M is kind of surging after that week 1 loss. Going into College Station, how does Luther Burden and the boy Brady Cook, how do they deal with that? Tough game to predict. But I'll go man, this is a tough game. Damn. So I'm going give me A&M. Give me A&M. I think this place is going to be rocking. No way they lose back-to-back times against ranked teams at College Station, right? No way. So I'll take A&M in that game. That's going to be a fun game to watch. SMU comes to town over Louisville. That's a tough game. Tough game to predict, too. I like Louisville to bounce back, though, after a tough loss to Notre Dame. Iowa comes into Columbus and plays Ohio State. I'll take Ohio State, but this might be a little bit ugly early. I don't think Will Howard's the best quarterback, and he might struggle against this Iowa defense, so that'll be something to watch. Auburn comes into Georgia. Georgia's going to spank them. They're going to be pissed after that loss. Yeah, Georgia's minus 24. Definitely take the over in that game. Whatever it is, take the over. But Ole Miss looks to bounce back against South Carolina. This is a tough game for them. Going into South Carolina is not easy. South Carolina lost a heartbreaker early. They could easily be 4-0. Not easily, but there's a chance they could have been 4-0. Another great game. See how Jackson Dart bounces back after kind of his worst game of the season by far. Give me South Carolina to beat Ole Miss again. I like that. I like South Carolina to beat them. I think that game, what was it, against Kentucky, left a bad taste in that South Carolina team's mouth. Yeah, give me South Carolina in that game. Next up, we got Indiana. They're ranked. They're number 23 in the nation. They're 5-0. They go to Northwestern. Yikes. This game is probably going to be boring to watch too. But Indiana, I'll take them. Bama, Vanderbilt has had its success. They've given some teams problems. I don't think Bama's going to be one of them. Give me Bama to win that one. Clemson goes to Florida State. Probably a way highly touted matchup. before the season starts, now that you see what Florida State is, they're awful. So I think Clemson beats them. Utah State comes into Boise State. This one's easy. Boise State has Ashton Genty. I'll take Boise State. Tennessee goes into Arkansas. This should be an interesting game too. I like Taylor Green. He's not he's fun to watch. I like Tennessee in this game, but if Taylor Green can somehow put together a crazy game, they might have a chance in this one. But I think Tennessee is just so. I think by far they're the most. Actually, not by far, but they're very. Both sides of the ball, they're very stacked. They got good depth on both sides of the ball. They got playmakers. They got a good quarterback. I like Tennessee a lot. I think they beat Arkansas. Michigan goes into Washington. Yeah, I just think Khalil Mullings is that guy. Washington's not bad, but yeah, give me Michigan in that one. I know I'm picking all the ranked teams except for freaking Ole Miss, but Minnesota, this might be a tough game for USC. I think Minnesota's head coach is very dialed in, and I'm going to take USC based on just playmakers alone. But this should be an interesting game. Iowa State hosts Baylor. Give me Iowa State. Just because of that defense and how stingy they are. Going to make the game ugly for Baylor. I think they stay undefeated and go 5-0. Miami goes to Cali. Why is this game the game of the week? Or I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but give me Miami. I'm not going to bet against Cam Ward. I know he's had his struggles, but there's a reason he's a Heisman candidate. But yeah, that's from the top 25. Let's go to just the whole FBS here, see if there's any other good matchups. So far, no. Yeah. Ooh, Rutgers and Nebraska. That'll be an interesting game. Give me Nebraska. It's in Lincoln. That place is going to be rowdy. Give me Nebraska in that game. That'll be a good game though. Watch that game. That'll be interesting. Oklahoma State hosts West Virginia. Give me West Virginia. I just can't stand watching Bowman play. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps up the preview for this week too. Pretty quick recap and preview. Actually, I'll touch on the two Arizona teams. ASU hosts Kansas. Oh, is it bad that I want to pick Kansas in this? Man. Fuck. I'll pick Kansas in that game as much as that hurts me. Give me Kansas in that game, and give me U of A to win against Texas Tech. This Texas Tech team is actually nasty. They're actually very good. But give me U of A. I think they finally figured out how to kind of run that offense and not rely so much on the quarterback and receiver connection that they got over there. But, yeah, that kind of wraps up my predictions and recap. I appreciate you guys listening to me yap for 40 minutes. But, yeah, I appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to follow the Instagram and TikTok at Let's Talk Ball _podcast. Check out NFL reviews of the Randy. Those are actually very in-depth and very good. Fun to watch. We got a big UFC event coming up this weekend. We got Pereira and Roundtree and Pennington against Juliana Pena. I'll have that recap out after the fight sometime, probably Sunday. But yeah, appreciate you guys listening again. Be sure to check out all those videos. Check out the YouTube, obviously the Spotify. Go give it a rating. But yeah, appreciate you guys listening. I'll see you guys soon.